What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. Hope you're happy, safe, healthy. And from my family and I to you, your family, your friends, whoever you're with, whoever you're around, tell them I said, hey, give them a hug, give them a high five. As my 4-year-old son likes to say, give me 5, up high, down low, too slow. The Dallas Cowboys won. This is our post-game show here on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. My post-game show, you can watch this live on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel, live in the Bleacher Report app as well. And in case it was not obvious, the Dallas Cowboys won. The Dallas Cowboys won emphatically, 31-28, the final score over the most recent dynasty the NFL has had to offer in the Kansas City Chiefs. It marked the 3rd win in a row for the Dallas Cowboys and gave us legitimate reason to believe and give them our hearts, give them our trust. It is now past the point of, well, I'm not ready. No, it is now time to officially trust the Dallas Cowboys, and we're going to talk about it. Make sure to subscribe to the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. Make sure to follow me on any level of social media. If you're on the YouTube side of things, the links to all those social profiles are down in the description below. Topher on YouTube says, I feel amazing. You know what, Topher? You should feel amazing. Go get another slice of pecan pie. Caleb says, don't forget, I remember some of y'all saying CD was washed last week, and then we got to trade him. I'm ready to have that talk again after tonight. I love that you are keeping receipts, Caleb. I really, really, really do. Jonathan says Dallas possibly eliminated Kansas City with this W. Thank you, sports fan, for the super chat on YouTube. Says, I can hear the goalposts moving again. LOL. Yeah, look. Here's the thing here. Steel Hero says this is definitely the defining legacy of Dak Prescott's era. And Caleb says Victory Polo Friday has a great ring to it. It is still Victory Polo Monday, but a Friday edition. It gets confusing this time of year when the Cowboys are winning. It's a good problem to have, don't get me wrong. And Topher says the time management at the end. Look, we can quibble with some of the things that happened. There were definitely some things. I know people wanted to see Brian Schottenheimer run the ball, a little bit earlier than the actual final possession. But the point is the Cowboys won. Let's focus on the positives for a second here. Now, here's the thing. There are going to be people who still doubt the Dallas Cowboys. We have been people who have doubted the Dallas Cowboys, but the Dallas Cowboys have proven since coming out of the bye, obviously it helps that they traded for Quinnen Williams. That goes without saying. The proof is very much in this collective pudding. The Dallas Cowboys have earned trust. The Dallas Cowboys have earned the benefit of the doubt. The Dallas Cowboys have earned the right to be in the discussion and the conversation for the NFC playoff picture. They have earned that through their hard work. It was just the Raiders on Monday Night Football. I don't think that was ridiculous for people to say. I think a lot of us said that. It was just the crummy Eagles offense that has had a lot of identity issues and insecurity issues and can't seem to just accept the fact that they're a good team, whatever, and they blew a 21-0 lead. It was just the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is playing really well. The defense has been on fire. They had this massive comeback victory of themselves last week over a very good team in the Indianapolis Colts. It was just. No more justs. It is now time to believe in the Dallas Cowboys. It is now time to say this is a very good football team that is finding itself at the right moment. It may ultimately prove to be too late when this regular season is over. We're not focusing on that right now because this team deserves for us to focus on the moment right now. And they are proving right now to be a very, very, very good, very, very sound, very, very dependable, and very, very trustworthy, not just football team, but football operation. They deserve the highest level of praise that they can garner, that they have garnered over the course of the last 3 games at this point in time. And I really am just very happy. I think we all are at this point in time. On YouTube, Caleb says a ton of positives walking away from tonight. Defense still looks more than serviceable. Dak is on fire. Wide receiver duo best in the league. And the team's got hustle. Turpin beating out 4 defenders at the end. I cannot agree with that more. I think that's a great encapsulation of what we saw in this game. I think a lot of us probably entered Thanksgiving Day saying, man, you know what? It was just the Raiders. Maybe the Eagles game was just a beautiful blend of emotion and right time, right place, right players, right opportunity, everything working out. And, we'll see what happens on Thanksgiving. Well, what happened on Thanksgiving was more proof of the concept. George Pickens, a little bit, absent early in the game, and you got to give credit to the Chiefs defense, and you got to be able to understand that nobody is going to be perfect from the start of a game to the finish of a game. We had these conversations last week because of CeeDee Lamb, but this Cowboys team is a team. CeeDee Lamb playing well early in the game. George Pickens picking up the slack, obviously, as everything kind of got down to crunch time. Javonte Williams having these big runs. Dak Prescott getting out of the pocket, being mobile, being crafty. The touchdown throw to Javonte Williams was amazing. DeMarvion Overshown getting more comfortable coming back. Quinnen Williams playing so well. the Cowboys getting play all over their defense, to be quite honestly. Savon Ravel coming in just like 5 minutes ago, it feels like, and playing at such a high level and going toe-to-toe with an offense that has a really sterling reputation. I mean, this is a team where it's one guy at this moment, another guy at that moment, and then these two guys at this other moment, and these three guys at this moment now. Jadeveon Clowney had a moment in this game. It is so refreshing to see that it is not just the way it's been in the past where the Cowboys have been dependent on the same superstar players rising to the occasion, and if they don't, the team is lost at sea. This is now a team that can survive different things, that can be adaptable and amenable to different sets of circumstances and still come out on top. And I think that Thanksgiving Day was a big example of that, but I think the last 3 weeks have been an overall example of that in the same sort of way. On YouTube, Haza, I think that's how it's pronounced here, says, "What's up, RJ? Would love to chat, but duty calls. Catch you on the rewatch. Appreciate it, Haza. Happy Thanksgiving." J-Dog says, "Total team effort." I agree with you. Shane Davis says, "Beating a desperate Chiefs team is one of the best wins in quite a while." Yeah, I mean, Tony Romo really wanted us to understand that this was a playoff game between the Cowboys and the Chiefs. And I agree. I agree that, you know, this Chiefs team was in a similar situation to the Cowboys and that they're kind of clinging to life on the AFC side of things and their division's getting away from them. And to be able to absorb that punch, and kudos and credit to the Chiefs, obviously, for down the stretch, Patrick Mahomes being who he has been throughout his entire career at this point in time, finding a way to narrow the margin to get that last touchdown to Hollywood Brown. And then, you know, I think a lot of us were thinking, oh no, this is where it's going to happen. The big bad wolf has finally huffed and puffed and the house is coming down. But Brian Schottenheimer and Dak Prescott got aggressive right away, and they were able to sustain and manage what needed to happen on offense. And finally, it came down to that 3rd and 2 on the positive side of the 2-minute warning, with Kansas City not having any timeouts, knowing you get these 2 yards and you get to hit the Landry shift. You get to hit victory formation. And what do? Dak Prescott, George Pickens, boom, money. Take your knees, go home, eat your turkey. It's refreshing to see a team that trusts itself. That is maybe my biggest takeaway from what the Cowboys are doing, not just or what they did on Thanksgiving Day, but what they're doing as they've gotten out of the bye and began to find themselves after. I think it's important to remember, you know, the bye offered a time for introspection because the Micah Parsons trade happened right as the season began. I mean, this team was playing catch up really for the first half of the season, and the bye week allowed them time to reset and figure out who they wanted to be, and they've proven who they are, and it is a very, very, very good football team. On YouTube, Jonathan says, "This game started off like last week, started off slow, but then turned up in the second half." I agree with that. Juan Duran says, "Opinions on Eberflus at this point of the season." I don't like to be the "this is what I said and I called it, I was right," you know, person. I have certainly offered points of criticism on Matt Eberflus. I don't know anyone who hasn't at this point in time, and I think that it was all substantiated and fair. I will say and speak for myself that I continually noted that we needed to give him the grace of the fact that Micah was traded a week before the season began, that DeMarvion Overshown wasn't healthy, that Savon Ravel wasn't playing. We obviously had no idea at that point in time that Quinnen Williams was going to join the fold, that Logan Wilson was going to join the fold. So I think that it's fair to say that Matt Eberflus has had a tough draw, a tough season from the moment it started, because you think about, obviously, back at training camp, we didn't have Micah then. I mean, we could go on and on and on and get in the weeds. So I think that Matt Eberflus has proven to be a very legitimate defensive mind, a very legitimate defensive coordinator. I was very excited when the Cowboys hired him to be their defensive coordinator, given his track record in Dallas specifically. And I think that Matt Eberflus has earned the right to be the Cowboys defensive coordinator in 2026. I'm sure that will send off some alarm bells for some people. But part of my argument for that, and I recognize this is not a good one, but it is still part of my argument nonetheless, is that this defense, as we've talked about many times, Matt Eberflus is their 3rd defensive coordinator in as many years. I don't want them to get a 4th in as many years. And Matt Eberflus is proving that, you know, it helps to have Quinnen Williams, but that with Quinnen Williams on his unit, he can certainly make things go. At one point in time, the Cowboys shut the Chiefs out for like 4 straight possessions. What was it? The Chiefs scored their touchdowns, obviously, their first 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, but then their next possessions, punt. They did get the touchdown and then had the punt again in the fourth quarter that allowed Dallas to go down and go up by 10 points. And I mean, I'm willing to, you know, give Kansas City that last touchdown as part of Mahomes' greatness. I mean, you're still playing very good players and very good offenses and a very good offensive play caller and play designer and Andy Reid. So I think that Matt Eberflus has earned his keep, is maybe the best way to put it. Siegfried on YouTube says, "I'll even begrudgingly say, good job, Jerry. I can't believe I said that." All right, let's have this conversation. I believe in life that results do not justify the process, rather that results do not necessarily justify the process. If I take a right and you take 3 lefts, we both ultimately got to the destination, right? The same destination, but I took a more efficient path to getting there than you did. That being said, the Cowboys have a very legitimate roster right now. They seem to have a very legitimate coaching staff. They seem to have a very legitimate team culture going on right now. And you have to give credit the same way we give criticism for those types of things to the person who is ultimately most in charge, and that is Jerry Jones. So I certainly believe and would agree with anyone that says that Jerry deserves credit for hiring Brian Schottenheimer, that Jerry deserves credit for trading Quinnen Williams. I think you can make an argument in some way. I would not, to be clear, that Jerry deserves credit for maybe hoping there was a long game with trading away Micah Parsons and that acquiring Quinnen Williams was part of that. I still stand by the fact, and I would argue this against anybody, that how the Cowboys got here was very messy and it did not have to be this way, but they have come out on the other side. And sometimes you do have to Andy Dufresne it, right? And crawl through some stuff to ultimately get to that proverbial other side. Now, I don't believe by any stretch that this was the grand master plan. This was the grand master intention, and the Cowboys pulled it off, and we just weren't seeing the forest to the trees, back in late August or whatever. I think they've gotten very lucky. I think that the Micah trade maybe taught them that they played some stupid games and they won some stupid prizes. And maybe since then they have committed to doing things differently in other ways beyond the Quinnen trade or whatever. I mean, they got the Tyler Smith deal done, the Deron Bland deal done, the Hunter Lipke deal done. We'll see if they learn from all this stuff with George Pickens in the offseason. But I think you do absolutely, unequivocally, objectively have to give Jerry Jones a lot of credit for what we're seeing in this current moment from the Dallas Cowboys in an overall perspective. Thank you, Stephen Brandon on YouTube, if I could get my words correct here. I've had too much turkey today for the super chats. Does someone get Romo Kleenex? Mahomes lost. Happy Thanksgiving, RJ and Blog and the boys, the Brandon boys in Little Rock. Thank you very much, Stephen. Hope you and the boys had a very blessed Thanksgiving and that you guys get to start the Christmas party very soon. We are at the most wonderful time of the year, and that's not just because the Dallas Cowboys are playing very well, but appreciate it. Hope you guys have had a wonderful week. Let's see, on Bleacher Report, your boy Blake says he doesn't deserve because he put us in this hole by trading Parsons. Yeah, that's my whole point about Jerry, is that he dug the hole that the team got out of. But, you can argue that after he dug the hole, he's done some legitimate work. That's my point. You have to be willing, I think, to give, Jerry credit for what he's done, but you should not forget what the Cowboys did to put the team and the roster and the fan base in this position. I mean, consider this for a second here. Look, I think I speak for everyone. I think I speak for a lot of people. The Dallas Cowboys right now feels awesome to be a Dallas Cowboys fan. I think we all are collectively feeling like, man, I have not felt this in a while as a Dallas Cowboys fan. And if you're feeling that way, it's completely fair and rational for you to feel that way. Consider that the Cowboys have won 3 games in a row after beating the Kansas City Chiefs on Thanksgiving Day. They have not won or had not won at least 3 games in a row since late in the 2023 season, a span that did include Thanksgiving Day. They are north of 500 now at 6-5-1 for the first time since week 5 of last year when they were 3-2. So if you're feeling, man, I feel good. And, I haven't felt this good in a long time as a Cowboys fan. There's a lot of reasons for that. And the reasons for that have been not purely, but majorly influenced by the front office and their indecision, their willful ignorance, their intentional sabotage. I mean, all sorts of different things. And so those things matter, and those things matter relative to discussions and context about the franchise and organization in an overall perspective. But just the same way those things matter, so do what they've done. At a certain point, you have to turn things around to make them better, right? At a certain point, you do have to figure it out and move on if you're going to move on. And we can't just, we can certainly hold them accountable and certainly not give them more benefit of the doubt than they deserve, but they are earning more benefit of the doubt. They have acquired and accrued more benefit of the doubt through their recent form. And I think that even extends to the Jones family. I don't think that any of us are foolish or naive at this point in time to trust them more than is warranted. But my point is that some trust is warranted. It's okay to say that. And more importantly, it's fair and objectively fair to say that. So kudos to the Cowboys' points of leadership. They have earned some benefit of the doubt from their fan base, in my humble opinion. Shane says, I've got friends wanting to get on the Cowboys bandwagon right now. That's never happened to me before. Kudos to you, Shane, but kick them off. Tell them they're not allowed. Caleb says, Jerry at the moment is doing what he has done most of his history, owning the Cowboys, making rash decisions and sometimes cleaning up the mess and sometimes not. It worked out this time, luckily. That's a bit of a negative slant in my opinion, but I don't think that's unfair to say. Let's get back to the game, though. Back to the day. Let's focus on the positives. Obviously, the Cowboys beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Just look, this was 4 days after they came back from 21-0 to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Consider that in a 5-day span, the Dallas Cowboys beat the two teams who were in the Super Bowl last year. Now, you don't get a Super Bowl trophy for doing anything like that, but this is real now. This is legitimate. This is something that is to be believed at this point in time. This isn't a matter of, oh, I need to see them do it at Detroit next week. No, if you're not willing to believe at this point in time, then you just have some sort of position that you're not willing to back down from. They have earned the right for you to believe them. And you know what? Even if they lose to the Lions, they're still in the mix here. I said coming into this 3-game stretch, this first 3-game stretch before the 4 that follow it, the Eagles, Chiefs, and Lions game, I said the Cowboys have to win 2 of these next 3 games to have a chance, obviously, across the rest of their season. They clearly have to take care of business beyond that. They have now done that. They're 2 for 2. I said they had to win 2 out of the next 3. They could win 3 out of these next 3 if they beat the Lions. If they beat the Lions next week, they are like totally within the NFC playoff picture. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but if the Bears beat the Eagles on the Black Friday game, we can't help ourselves. We're all going to be looking there at our standings, apps and whatever on our phones and being like, this is possible. The Cowboys could actually, if they catch enough breaks, win the NFC East. And that's so much fun. That is what is so fun. And the Cowboys have given us that finally for the first time in a while throughout a holiday season, which I'm particularly grateful for. G. Burkhalter on Bleacher Report says, I want to see how they manage the Pickens contract. That's a fair thing to say. I don't want to go back to the front office thing, but I do think that that's the next checkpoint for the front office. There's nothing left for the front office to do between now and the end of the regular season or the playoffs, whatever the case may be. The next point where the front office is going to show their cards to us is how they handle the George Pickens thing. If the front office at the beginning of the offseason, or hell, even at some point before then, because they totally could, if they surprise us and get a George Pickens extension done, we will clap. We will applaud. We will give them their kudos, and we will give them more benefit of the doubt because they have earned some over the course of the last few weeks. But, if they play their same stupid games, if they place the franchise tag on him, if they call it a placeholder, if they get to mid-July and it's the same song and dance, they will prove that what we're seeing right now is more representative of Brian Schottenheimer and his staff being awesome, of Dak Prescott being awesome, of CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens being awesome, Quinnen Williams, things that have nothing to do in a direct sense to the front office. Michael Watson, thank you for the super chat on YouTube, says, my buddy David Plunkett, longtime Cowboys fan that moved to Philly and decides to become an Eagles fan. He deserves a community thumbs down. Thumbs down for David Plunkett. Happy Thanksgiving to you, David. But the Cowboys have won 2 football games since your team last did. That's really embarrassing. I don't know how you're dealing with it, but I hope the turkey tasted delicious nonetheless. Jonathan says, Murphy's Law. RJ, don't forget Murphy's Law. That is the only doubt that remains for me. Each win moves us further away from the dreadful Murphy's curse. That's fair. Jonathan says, huge thumbs down to David. I like where we're going here as a community. G. Burkhalter says, go Bears on Bleacher Report. I love that. Quavo on Bleacher Report says Packers and Lions have very tough schedules coming up. It is lining up very nicely for the Cowboys. And here's the thing. Look, the Cowboys may not be a playoff team. In fact, I would say that if I were a betting man, they probably won't be a playoff team. That's not being negative. That's just the reality of their situation. They have greatly and dramatically improved their situation, which is why we're all so excited here. But that's what matters. It was Thanksgiving Day when the Dallas Cowboys beat the Kansas City Chiefs. We all watched the Cowboys beat the Kansas City Chiefs on Thanksgiving Day. We're all about to put up our Christmas decorations. I'm going to watch Jingle All the Way and Home Alone like 43 times over the course of the next 2 weeks, right? This is the most magical, most wonderful, most amazing, most light-filled, most coffee-filled, peppermint flavor-filled time of the year. And part of what can just amplify those emotions and those feelings is when your football team is good and when your football team is relevant. And the Cowboys are giving us butterflies in our hearts right now. The Cowboys are making our hearts go ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. The Cowboys are making us believe at the most magical time of the year. So even if this doesn't end in a playoff berth, even if this ends with them missing out, even if it poetically, dramatically, unbelievably ends with them going a perfect even Steven 8-1 on the season and missing out on the playoffs. So that way it will have been worth it, because in the offseason, these are the days, these are the weeks, these are the emotions that I miss more than anything. And I think that a lot of you feel the same way. So the Cowboys have given us the opportunity to believe. They have given us the opportunity to have foolish and silly and crazy dreams. That's what we want as sports fans. And on Thanksgiving Day, those dreams were realized. Those dreams were reality. It was awesome and it was perfect and it was amazing. And it's a memory that we're all going to hold on to for forever, because that's the way this whole thing works. Let's see here on YouTube. Jonathan says Dallas possibly just eliminated Kansas City from playoff contention. Yeah, I agree with that. We talked about that a moment ago. J-Dog says, this is the whipped cream on my pumpkin pie. Love that. Mr. Jefferson says, are we ruining the value of our seat with these wins? Happy Thanksgiving, Cowboys Nation. I don't think so. I'm not worried about that at that point in time, or at this point in time. Tony says, proud of them. Huge win for Dak. I agree with that. Brian Schottenheimer is at the podium, seeing if he says anything specific, anything whatever. No, nothing important, nothing to take away right now from the Cowboys. This was, the Cowboys won this game 31-28. I think that they won this game more handily. And I don't mean that with any disrespect to the Chiefs, but the Cowboys, obviously they fell down early in the game after the interception and it was 7-0, but the Cowboys dominated this game. The Cowboys were very much driving this game, and they were up 10 points late, and kudos to Patrick Mahomes for narrowing that and whatnot. But this was, I don't know how anybody felt, and I'm certainly curious how you have felt or did feel or were feeling or whatever. Let me know in the comments. But I don't think that any of us were, I don't mean to say we weren't sweating it, because I think we were all sweating it at different points. But like at halftime, like when Post Malone was going off, I think we were all feeling pretty good. I think we all thought like, hey, the Cowboys have this. The defense is, doing their part. We said all through the first half of the season that the defense just had to be a group that could get a few stops. If they could just do enough, if they could just be average, right? The offense could take care of business and be elite. And that happened. Like that literally happened. That was literally what happened. Now, maybe the offense wasn't elite and didn't put up like 40 points or anything like that, but I don't think that we ever truly felt like this was out of reach. Now, at one point late in the game, Kansas City had a 1-point lead, and maybe you were a little bit stressed then. Obviously, we all were to some degree, but what did the Cowboys offense do? Boom, right away, go down and score. Boom, that was when George Pickens woke up. Boom, Dak Prescott did a Dak Prescott thing. Boom, George Pickens had the 2-point conversion. They have become a team that we can trust. They have become a team to where, the going gets tough and the water gets hot, and they find a way at that particular moment in time. It's impressive and it's awesome. And that's why I don't think that we were stressing in the way that we have been at different points in this season or previous Cowboys seasons. J-Dog says Turpin fumble recovery saved the game possibly. Man, that is so true when you consider the fact that the Cowboys won the game by 3 points and that they got them right after the Turpin fumble recovery. That's what it comes down to, right? Sometimes you've got these butterfly effect moments where what happens if he doesn't do that? What happens if CeeDee Lamb makes the catch in week 1 against the Eagles, right? Like, just to pick a different random one. I don't mean to pick at fresh wounds off of last week when everybody was firing off the takes, but there is a time where Kevontae Turpin doesn't recover that fumble. The Chiefs get it. They go down, they take the lead, and the Cowboys lose. And we're sitting there saying, like, man, what happens if he does recover that fumble? It was a game where the Cowboys put themselves in the proper and full position to benefit from different types of luck. And it worked out for them in the very end, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. Sports fan on YouTube says, it's still the Chiefs. I never doubted them. And until it said final, then I started celebrating. I like that. Castrovon says, CD shook the yips. I don't know what I believe happened to CeeDee Lamb in the 2 Eagles games this year, but what I do believe is that CeeDee Lamb was on fire on Thanksgiving Day against the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know who I think had the best game for the Cowboys, because Dak Prescott played so well and George Pickens played so well and Quinnen Williams continues to be amazing. I think Sam Williams had a really solid game, but CeeDee Lamb is well in the running for having had the best game of any Dallas Cowboys player on Thanksgiving Day, and that he had this, like 5 minutes after having what was maybe his worst game ever as a Cowboy. And I still think that that's a dramatic way of putting what happened last week against Philly. But I mean, I hope if you're someone that said, let's trade CeeDee, I hope that you just next time don't hit send. Next time just take a breath, because CeeDee Lamb was remarkable against the Kansas City Chiefs. He was amazing. He was dazzling. He was perfect. He was exactly who the team needed him to be, and he was a big reason why the Cowboys were in control for most of this game. So CeeDee Lamb was awesome and deserves all credit and kudos and props and flowers in the world. CeeDee Lamb rules. And if you disagree with that, well, just take a breath. That's all I would say. Let's see here. Luke says, yes, felt like we were trying to blow it along with Dak's possible interception. J-Dog says, for once, Mahomes didn't have the refs in his back pocket. I can't believe that there was a flag thrown on the Dante Fowler hit that they thought was a penalty. That was so dumb, and I'm so happy that they picked it up. That was ridiculous. Just absurd. Jonathan says on YouTube, the Cowboys outgained Kansas City 457 yards to 362 and converted 56% of their third down tries to the Chiefs 38%. Dallas also narrowly won the time of possession, 30 minutes and 54 seconds to 29:06. You put this in quotes, so you clearly, I don't know where you took this from, obviously some point. But yeah, I think that's representative of how the Cowboys were in control. The score looks a little bit different, and it was stressful, and it was a little bit sticky at times, and certainly at the end, emotions run high. But the Cowboys did what they wanted to against Kansas City. I mean, the Cowboys, in my estimation, and I'd certainly love to hear if anybody agrees or disagrees, the Cowboys played like a team that knew they could come back from down 21-0, right? There was something powerful to that win they had on Sunday against Philly, to where they said, you know what, we can walk through fire, right? Like, when Pam walks over the coals and she suddenly has she's become emboldened or whatever. That's who the Cowboys are. They're Pam Beasley having walked over the coals. And, on Thanksgiving Day, I suppose the Chiefs were their gym, and they were like, get out of the way. We're too much of a boss for you. You don't even understand what's going on. Why are you in our way at this point in time? I don't know that analogy fully hits, but I think that you understand the point. So the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, again, played like a team who knew they were better than that, who knew okay, it's 7-0, whatever. We'll lock in and we'll go take this lead back, and we'll take control and we'll run the rest of this game. And that's exactly what they did. And I think that they're going to play very well against Detroit, because Detroit's kind of losing their identity a little bit right now, and the Cowboys are really finding theirs. I think that's what we're really seeing over the course of these 3 wins now, is the Cowboys are so clearly finding their identity. They are so clearly figuring out who they are. They have such an obvious comfort in their own skin, in what they need to do and what they have to accomplish at any given moment in time, whatever the situation calls for. If all of a sudden they're down 1 after being up and in control for most of the game, they're comfortable there. There's not a situation that you can devise or create or generate where this team in their current construction is going to feel frazzled. And I think the credit for that deserves to go to the highest points of leadership during the game, which obviously would be the quarterback and Dak Prescott and Brian Schottenheimer, right? This is a group that has created that disposition among this team and within this locker room, that there is nothing that they can't handle. There is nothing they can't sustain. There's nothing they can't absorb and come out stronger and come out on top and come out with the win again. So serious kudos and congratulations to all the people involved, as noted. Quavo says, hot take on Bleacher Report. Post-trade deadline, this has the potential to be the most sound roster in the Dak era. Just hope the moves didn't come too late. I don't think that's a hot take at all. I mean, look, I don't want to do the Quinnen Williams is better than Micah Parsons stuff, whatever. But Quinnen Williams has changed this team, right? And Quinnen Williams has changed this team in a way. If you've been around the Cowboys fan culture group, Cowboys Twitter, whatever, on the internet for some time, you know that we have been screaming for them to address the interior of their defensive line for a long time now, right? Because this is traditionally been a position that they have disregarded from a resource standpoint, and they've never really invested there. So, which is why when they traded for Quinnen Williams, it was a matter of, holy crap, now you've really invested in this position. This is awesome to see. And what a surprise. It has become a rising tide that has lifted all boats. So, I mean, Quinnen has just Sam Williams has become such a better player because of the presence of Quinnen Williams. Osa Odigizua has become unlocked because of Quinnen Williams, right? Kenny Clark, we're talking over the full, sample size of Quinnen's career so far with the Cowboys. There's only 3 games, but you get the point. Kenny Clark has become even better. Jadeveon Clowney has become better. He has been that rising tide, as mentioned. Quinnen Williams has dramatically changed and improved and raised and elevated who the Cowboys are, who the Cowboys defense is, who the Cowboys defensive front 7 is. He has made everything better. His presence, his play, his aggression, his leadership, his opportunities that are manifested and obviously literally created by his work are what is making the defense work so well against multiple different opponents at this point in time. Let's see here. Loco says Q and Overshown have both been the changes needed. Q stuffing the middle was awesome. I agree with that. J-Dog says Logan Wilson needs more snaps in the middle. Yeah, Kenneth Murray is still taking some heat on the internet, but we're here to be positive. Let's see here. CC Rippin says, did Dak ever get sacked? I don't believe so. It was just that type of game. I mean, that type of game. Nope, no sacks for the Chiefs, according to the official box score. G. Burkhalter on Bleacher Report says all the close games being won are a very good learning experience for the Cowboys. Yeah, I this is going to sound like a typical Cowboys fan type of thing, but look, I want the Cowboys to make the playoffs as much as any of you, and they are making it a race, right? They are making it fun and interesting, and who knows, they could pull that off. But I want us to remember this if they don't, because we'll be bummed and we'll be sad and we'll be mad on some level. And those are understandable emotions. What the Cowboys are building right now, and again, they are building this after their front office created a lot of dysfunction, but we're moving on. What they're building right now is going to be so valuable for 2026 and 2027. Right after the Quinnen Williams trade, we talked about how that was clearly now the window for the Cowboys, just based on contracts and based on ages and based on different primes. And again, the contractual nature of the most important and critical players on the team. They are learning and developing a lot of things that are going to be of inordinate value for them in the future. That is so exciting. Obviously, we want that to translate to the rest of this season because we want playoff appearances all the time. You would never say no to a playoff appearance. That goes without saying. And maybe this group will find a way and get lucky enough to ultimately mine one out. That would be amazing. But the Cowboys have just, I mean, since the trade, the arrow is pointing up. The future is bright. The present is bright for the Cowboys. And I mean, as excited as I was about Quinnen Williams joining the team, as excited as anybody was, I don't think that any of us in our wildest dreams thought that this was actually going to happen. I think if we had said, look, I think they could beat the Raiders and the Eagles and the Chiefs, it would have been met with like, I don't know. You know what I mean? And they've done it. And they've done it, you know, granted, while accruing a 21-0 hole against Philadelphia, but that also speaks to their resilience, right? They have proven a lot about themselves in this stretch, and that is very exciting with regards to both the present and the future. On YouTube, Mr. Jefferson says Victory Polo Friday. That's true. Let's see here on Bleacher Report. Mayor says free agents are not going to want to come join this team next year. Yeah, we'll see if the front office wants them to join the team next year, right? That's the Jason Bates, you know, the F you aren't meme or whatever, right? Like, so we'll see. Let's see here. Making sure Jerry said Jerry had a turkey leg, according to Calvin Watkins, the Dallas Morning News. Let's see here. Yeah, he had a turkey leg. Look, here's the thing, man. You win like this, you put together good things and good vibes, eat a turkey leg. You know, you have your, you know, mosquito analogies or whatever in your radio appearances. All that stuff becomes way more tolerable when you're winning football games. And right now, I don't think there's a Dallas Cowboys fan out there that's mad. I think right now that every single Dallas Cowboys fan is feeling good, feeling optimistic, feeling sunshine, feeling rainbows, right? Like feeling the positivity that this team has created for itself. And dude, I mean, they deserve a lot of credit. I mean, if we're just talking about the football, when they were 3-5-1, they were at Vegas. We all thought like, okay, they're going to win this game, but then it is, you know, it is what it is. And obviously when they fell down against Philly, we thought, well, this is the straw that's breaking the camel's back. But they said no more, no mas, and they have just rallied. I mean, that deserves a serious, you know, bit of kudos and applause and credit, and they have earned every single bit of it. Man, what a fun day, what a fun time. Killicade on Bleacher Report says, what do you think of Ravel so far? I think Savon Ravel has been awesome. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, Caleb says on YouTube at this same exact moment, man, I knew Overshown would help out the defense, but could not predict he'd impact that much immediately. Here's my take on both DeMarvion Overshown and Savon Ravel. I thought it was wildly irresponsible of Jerry Jones to be placing so much responsibility on them, you know, over the last few weeks, saying we've got help coming, they're going to help us, we got players come back, they're going to help us. Dude, I mean, you're talking about two dudes who are coming back from serious injuries, one of whom has never even played in the NFL before, but they have been awesome. I mean, they have been amazing. They have been legitimate contributors to the defense. I'm all worked up. They've been legitimate contributors to the defense in a way that I think would have been wildly irresponsible to suggest they would have been. And that wasn't a lack of faith in DeMarvion Overshown or Savon Ravel. That was trying to be patient, trying to offer grace, trying to understand that it takes players time sometimes, more often than not, to come back from devastating and serious injuries or to learn the NFL game, which is what Savon Ravel was obviously tasked with doing. So I really could not be more impressed with what either Savon Ravel and DeMarvion Overshown are doing at this point in time, independent of the injuries that they're coming back from, let alone the fact that they're coming back from these serious injuries. It's some seriously impressive stuff. So, I mean, a tip of the hat to both Savon Ravel and DeMarvion Overshown for how they've been playing as of late. I hope, seriously, with all of my heart, that you have just had the most blessed Thanksgiving Day. I say this a lot, but this day means something different to us as Dallas Cowboys fans than it does to any other fan base. And maybe the Lions feel similar, but they're the enemy now, so screw them. Whatever. You know my point. That all good with the Lions. But that being said, we all understand. We all get it. Like we've all had to adjust our Thanksgiving Day or our meals or whatever. Like, this is a part of your tradition. This is a part of your holiday. This is a part of how you plan your travel, or who's going to eat where you're going to sit, where you're going to sit after, what you're going to do at halftime. If you got to walk the dogs, you got to drive from one house to the other, right? Like, it is a part of your tradition. It's a part of how you go about the holiday. You associate the turkey and the dressing and the rolls and the mac and cheese and the ham and everything with the Dallas Cowboys, with the throwback uniforms, with the red kettles, with the halftime show, with all of it. It is all part of the same ambiance. And so it's just amazing when they win, and they give us this weekend, if you're still spending with family or whatever you're doing, right? Like, it just is different. And you know that because you've lived it. And the Cowboys just gave us that this year, obviously. And so I hope that your Thanksgiving was filled with all sorts of joy and blessings and food and wonderfulness and just whatever you wanted it to be. I hope it was that for you and yours. And I'm grateful that you gave me and Blog on the Boys some of your time. You are our family. We are an internet family. We are a Dallas Cowboys family. And so it just feels awesome to share this with one another. I don't take a single day of doing this for granted. That feels a little bit stronger in my mind on today of all days, Thanksgiving, a day of gratitude, a day of thankfulness. And so I'm so thankful for you, and I'm thankful for the Cowboys. I'm thankful for all this. My heart is just so full, and I'm going to go eat some leftovers and eat some pecan pie and watch the night game and then watch some shows and then watch college football this weekend and hopefully watch the Eagles lose. It just does not get better than this. These are the days, my friends, and I'm so happy to share them with all of you. All right. Please, if you haven't yet, subscribe right here to the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel. Like the video, all that fun stuff. If you want to hang out with me on any level of the internet, I am everywhere talking about the Dallas Cowboys. You can find all my social profiles. They are linked down in the description below. Just search for RJ Ochoa wherever you're at. X, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever you want. I promise you I'm there. I hope your family has a wonderful rest of the Thanksgiving weekend. From my family and I to you, my family is also obviously very grateful. I'm grateful to them for supporting me in my job, my dreams, and my things and what I want to do. And so I'm just so very happy, and I hope you are as well. The Dallas Cowboys won. Tomorrow's Victory Polo Monday. Looking forward to your pictures, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next time. The Cowboys are 6-5-1. Who would have thought? I mean, what an amazing thing. Y'all have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you next time.